Welcome, everyone, to this special production by VYPE Media. My name is Joshua Cook. I serve as VYPE Media's managing editor. I am joined by Chief Content Officer Matt Malatesta, as we will serve as the moderators for this Texas high school football coaches panel. We are in trying times in our country right now due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This has had a direct effect on high school sports, of course, as the UIL has canceled sports the rest of this year. To talk about that, we are joined by Houston area football coaches for this panel discussion. We are joined by Atascocita head coach Craig Stump, North Shore head coach Jon Kay, Dickinson head coach John Snelson, Foster head coach Shaun McDowell, and Conroe head coach Cedric Hardeman to discuss some topics directly affecting high school football. And with that, I give the floor to Matt Malatesta for the beginning of this panel discussion.
All right, so we'll start with Coach Kay. You know, having been at North Shore for several years, I've witnessed it also. You're not able to do spring football. It's a rite of passage for those guys who are, you know, trying to make a name for themselves, be the next big thing at North Shore. How disappointed are those kids, first of all, and second of all, how hard is it now to go into the season without really being able to do evaluation?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest adjustment for us is the evaluation piece. You know, I think that's something that we've relied on through the course of the years, being able to cut these young guys loose in a controlled environment, but a very physical environment. And not having that is going to be obviously a huge challenge for us. But, you know, like I've said before, everybody's going to be in that same boat and we're all going to be fighting the same stuff. And there's been a lot of good football teams that don't do spring ball, whether we're talking about at the 6A level or at the lower levels that don't even offer it. So obviously it can be done, and it's our job as coaches to find a way to get that done in the fall. As so far as the kids, I think there's a lot of disappointment. The kids grow up, you know, coming to watch spring ball in the stadium and understanding what part that plays in their high school careers. And they're going to have to make the adjustment just like us as coaches.
Now, my question is for Coach Stump. Now, Coach, you played quarterback in college at Texas A&M. You know, over your coaching career, you've had success developing quarterbacks at different levels. At Atascocita, you know, you've developed guys like Davion Boyd and Bryce Matthews. Now you head into the 2020 season needing to do that again. How does not having spring football and 7-on-7 this summer affect that development process of the next guy to take snaps for you?
Well, a lot. Just like, you know, like John said, you know, not only that, also the off season and things like that. You know, last year would have been a little bit different because we had a junior coming back to be a senior. This year we have a sophomore that's going to be a junior. Yeah, just the time spent with the guys. You know, whether it's a competitive 7-on-7, you know, qualifying tournaments and all those kind of things. They're great for quarterbacks. They're great for wideouts. They're great for DBs, linebackers. So, you know, you got to do the best you can, though. And, you know, maybe we'll be able to get together with, you know, John and I usually get together over the summer once or twice, even though it's not a qualifying tournament. But anything with the development, you know, we all got guys that are seniors. To me, this whole thing, we got guys that are coming back that, you know, are responsible. They're good kids. They're motivated. They're driven, and they're going to be doing those workouts like they're supposed to that we give them and all those things. And the guys that you miss are those sophomores that you're trying to see if you're going to be a junior and is going to be able to help you, or a freshman that's going to be a sophomore if he's going to help you. And I think the quarterback, being the most important spot on the team, you know, it really can affect them, I think.
All right, Coach McDowell of Foster. We're like at the eve of the NFL draft, which is awesome. You coach CD Lamb, played at OU, played for you. You know, when can you tell like a kid like that is super special? A, B, give us an anecdotal story on him, and then also talk about guys like Reuben Foster, Cody Jackson, Dot Nwankwo, how you approach them, how you coach them, because they're going to be kind of the future of possibly college football.
Well, you don't really coach them. You just make sure they get on the bus on Friday night. You know, it's like no, right. That's job number one, to make sure they get to the game. No, I mean, you know, CD, we knew that he was special. Like the first time we kind of saw him as a freshman. You know, he wasn't physically imposing. He kind of looked like all little skinny, scrawny freshmen, you know, and but the things that he could do on the field, like he could play quarterback, he could play running back, receiver. he's actually was a better defensive back, we thought, as a freshman, because he could just track the ball. And then there's a couple games where he got a pick and just shook everybody. All 22 plus coaches fell down on a couple of things that he was able to do just as a freshman. So he started for us as a sophomore at wide receiver, and it wasn't anything impressive until, he started rolling just like any sophomore. Kind of started off slow, getting a little frustrated. But there's a particular game versus Port Lavaca Calhoun that we had on a Thursday night, and we were down by like 4 with like 10 seconds left to go, and we threw a Hail Mary and from like the 40-yard line, and he ends up catching it as the time expires. And everybody goes crazy and all that stuff. And then, believe it or not, Norman Richardson calls us for lineman downfield. So we had to back up 5 yards and do it again. And CD catches the Hail Mary once again. So my man has caught 2 Hail Mary passes in one game, right? And that's on you can watch it on YouTube. It's amazing. So that's what we kind of knew we had us a quote-unquote dog that, he wants the ball in his hand. And then his just relentless work ethic, come to practice and doing the small things and constantly working on his craft, and it afforded him the opportunity to go to OU. And then he took advantage of everything that OU offers a kid, through professionally and growth and physically and mentally. And hopefully he's going to play in the NFL starting tomorrow, just like with a bunch of kids. And then, Ruben Fothery, he's a unicorn, 6'8", 300 pounds, a heck of a basketball player, a coach's kid. Man, he checks all the boxes. He's another guy I think that could really, really be special. He doesn't even know how special he is yet. I mean, he'd rather, he's a guy that's going to play basketball, going to lift weights and go play, Fortnite. He's not even thinking about that kind of stuff. I mean, he's 17. He's having the time of his life, which is awesome. Doc started, so many games for us and was a grown man the minute he stepped on campus, and he is going to be just an anchor for the University of Houston. And I'm so happy that he's so close, because I can just go right down, Maine and Cullen and watch him like every day. And I love that staff and I love that school. And so I'm able to go and watch those guys. So I can't talk about too many of my guys, because then I feel like I should be Jon Kay and have all these rings on my finger, so. But I'm blessed to have coached some really good guys and some great kids. And, CD's just one of the many few, but the nation's going to know how special he is hopefully tomorrow.
For you, Coach Snelson, I know you have been big on social media during this pandemic, sending video messages out to your players. How else have you been staying in touch with your athletes, and what have been some of the biggest challenges for them during this time?
We do 2 Zoom meetings per week, and the coaches are keeping in contact with the Sports U app through the Texas High School Coaches Association. I think the biggest thing for us is not all of our kids have access to the internet. Not all of our kids have Wi-Fi, and this pandemic has really had a different effect on different people. Some people, it's kind of been a break where they've been able to reconnect with family, re-energize. Some just a little bit more nerve-wracking, and I think some, man, they're losing jobs and they're pretty worried about meals and all that kind of stuff, and so as football coaches, we're wanting to do some football stuff, but ultimately we're really trying just to check in with those guys and make sure that their basic needs are being met on a daily basis.
Man,
talk about when I'll never forget, we're at UIL realignment, and it flashes that Conroe ISD is a 16 district. And I know, Danny Long and the crew was maybe kind of shook by that, but Now you're in 13-6A. It has 6 teams in it. What if the UIL backs it up a little bit and you're unable to play some non-district games? What kind of effect, what challenge is that? Because you would maybe just dive right into district play.
I think that, considering the experience that we had last year in the district with 9 teams, I think that, that's all our kids know. I mean, last year, coming off of camp, we had 2 non-district games, and then, we jumped right into district with, the Conroe school also with climb. So it was, I called it the mini SEC in regards to, districts out there. So I think our kids are prepared. That's all they know. Kids are resilient. And I think that, how you paint the picture to them is how they're going to receive it. So if you paint it as if it's oh, woe is me, then the kids are going to come in there, oh, woe is me. But if, you paint it as, business as usual and let them focus on the things that they can control, then I think that, they'll step up to the plate. So however UIL, aligns it and allows us to play, then I think we'll just be happy to play. I kind of, echo the sentiments of Coach Snelson. We have kids that are, in different situations. We have kids that parents have been furloughed. We have kids that they're working more at their jobs after school just to help, with their parents, either at, fast food or whatever. So I think that, when we get the opportunity to come back to some, form of normalcy, I think that it'll be a breath of fresh air for a lot of our kids. And I told our kids, I think, we're going to be better because of it, and I honestly believe that. So, we're just kind of looking forward to getting an opportunity and getting it going.
All right, well, Coach is switching gears here. We're going to kind of go into a bit of a lightning round of questions where each of you will give an answer. This is going to be kind of fun. First, in your coaching career, who has been the toughest player you've had a game plan against? And I guess we'll start with Jon Kay and go Craig Stump in kind of the order we had, where then Shaun and Jon and then Cedric. So yeah, for you, Coach Kay.
Coach Kay. All right, 2 Johns.
Yeah, it's 2 Johns, Coach Kay and Coach Snelson. Sorry.
Well, I've told him this before, so it's not like he's just here. But the toughest guy that we've ever had a game plan for was Bo Snelson when he was at Pasadena Memorial. And, there's a lot of guys out there that have been some phenomenal athletes. But when you talk about pure football players that can go play defense, can go play offense, can hurt you, I don't know that we've ever faced a tougher runner. And I think our kids on defense will be the first ones to tell you. So for me personally, it would be Bo Snelson.
And Coach Stump?
Demetrius Davis, quarterback North Shore. No question. And the good thing is we got another year of it, so it's great.
You're excited to game plan for another year against Demetrius?
Yeah, well, yeah, because, he got us this time. Hey, maybe things will even out.
All right, Coach McDowell, who's been the toughest?
In the past few years, you start looking back, man, one of the toughest guys that we just didn't have an answer for was Darius Anderson, the running back at George Ranch. I mean, he was a tough physical runner. He could run around you. He could run through you. He could run over you. And that was kind of culmination of them winning the state championship in 2015. We thought we had an answer for him in the first half, and then he runs for like 200 in the second. So we just made him mad, and he ran over us. So, but he was then one of the toughest because they just had a great scheme and a lot of great players. But Darius Anderson from George Ranch was really tough. Yeah,
you made him so mad. He went on TCU. Now he's projected to go in the NFL draft this week.
Yeah. Well, he's pretty good, man.
All right, Coach Snelson, toughest player you've had a game plan for?
Well, we didn't get to play North Shore this year, but Zach Evans, whenever he was a junior, was a very, very tough matchup for us.
And for you, Coach Hardeman?
I'm the pup, compared to all these guys here. I've got opportunity to see some, guys from the side, but just preparing from a head coach point of view, seeing McLaughlin kid from Klein Oak, just from the side and game planning him on both sides. Kid played receiver and DB. Kid's an absolute freak. And what I enjoy more about him is, talking to Coach Glenn and hearing about his growth off the field and get a chance to meet him, after the game. And I mean, he's had a swagger about himself. Kid's gonna be special at LSU, real special.
All right, guys. So toughest place to play a road opponent. Let's start with Jon Kay. Jon Kay, toughest place to play.
Toughest place to play in my mind is the Swamp. I remember we went down to Dickinson. Again, I hate bringing up John, but in that playoff game in the second round, I think it was 2016 or 17, that wind's blowing and that band's going and those fans are going crazy, man. That's a hard place to play.
How about you, Coach Stump?
I would say road stadium. You know, the travel getting over there from where we're at, getting across Houston that time of day, and then obviously when you get there, the opponent that you play, Katy High School, you know, it's senior night and they have all their seniors out there and they line up from one goal line to the other.
Right.
And my wife asked another coach's wife, is that their team? And she said, no, that's the seniors. So not only is, you know, and the fans are there early and you know, they're all in their colors and it's just a great tradition. You know, it's a tough place to play.
All right, Coach McDowell, toughest atmosphere.
For us, you know, we get to do a lot of traveling, but going down to Angleton is like the epitome for us for Friday night football. You know, you walk in their locker room and the lockers are purple and it's Wildcat Nation and you know, it's the whole town comes out. They sell out their home side, and then if they sell out the home side, then they sell visitor tickets to put Angleton Wildcats on the visitor side. So you know, they just do a great job of you know, blowing that cannon and when they score and just being loud and rambunctious. And you know, it wasn't until like 2014 or 15 when we actually won a game at Angleton for the first time in Foster history. So at Angleton, so that was pretty fun, you know. So I'd say Angleton High School.
All right, Coach Snelson, you got one of the toughest places to play. Where is your favorite place to go play a game?
My favorite place to go play a game? Toughest place, Galena Park ISD. We've won one playoff game whenever I was at Pasadena, but wins are hard to come by over there. Coach Stump has got us in the playoff over there, and Coach Kay's got us a couple times.
There's a coordination between the North Shore football team and the North Shore band. That band knows about football.
Absolutely.
I love that.
They do a great job. You know, they do a great job. That is a football place, and you know, just the tradition and everything that they have there. It's a tough out.
All right, I think Coach Hardeman got bounced out. He's trying to rejoin, and we'll ask him that question or later. But Josh, next lightning round question, go.
And so next question for coaches: how much has recruiting changed since you started coaching, and what's your advice to young athletes in 2020? And we'll start with you, Coach Kay.
I think it's changed dramatically with the onset of social media, you know, and so I think that would be our biggest piece of advice, and I think we battle it every day, is kids understanding that they're putting themselves on display 24/7 with their social media, and I think kids that are hitting the like button or hitting the retweet button sometimes fail to understand that they're being judged on that. So you know, my advice would be for them to be very careful as to what that book that they're writing every day about themselves is actually saying by the use of their social media.
I guess for you, Coach Stump, your advice to young recruits in 2020?
Yeah, I think just like John said, that's the biggest thing now with coaches in college. They use social media a lot. You know, that they get up with their guys on Twitter and things like that, as opposed to just a phone call. A lot of them go through us, but they go directly to the kid, and having the kid understand who's talking to them, you know, that's the biggest thing. It's so easy now to get a hold of them, and what they say matters. And coaches are looking for those things that they can't see on film. You know, the things that we see every day. They could be the greatest. You could be a great kid. You could do everything right, and one like on Twitter could give somebody the wrong impression about you. And I think that's real important. Plus, you know, the way recruiting is now, you got to make sure that, you know, that the college coaches are the ones that offer scholarships. not 7-on-7 coaches. And we've had that happen a couple times to us where, you know, the 7-on-7 coach said they offered somebody and the coaches at the college knew nothing about it. And so they got to be careful about that and just understand that, you know.
And for you, Coach Snelson, and then we'll go Coach McDowell and then Coach Hardeman after that.
Really about the same. Just social media, there's just so many people coming at these kids at lightning speed, 24/7. You know, they've just got to be careful what they put out there. They've got to be careful with what they listen to. And every kid's story is going to be different. It's so hard for people to be patient nowadays, you know, and if somebody's not getting as many looks as somebody else, then they start to branch out, do a bunch of other things like that. But patience is key, and be very careful what you portray on social media.
And for you, Coach McDowell, I guess I think it's kind of the same idea, is just be careful on social media and what you're doing.
Yeah, and really it's almost you have to educate the kids on what to do, how to do it, the purpose of it. And it's happening so much earlier now. Like, so kids are coming in as freshmen with, with Twitter profiles, and they're already being educated and assuming things and retweeting and liking and trying to do stuff before they even play a varsity down or even play for your school, you know. So it's pretty amazing, and a lot of it is just for likes and to get retweeted, and, you know, and so it's hard to sometimes the Twitter persona doesn't match what it looks like in the field house, you know, and so we talk about that kind of stuff too. So yeah, I mean, social media without doubt. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
The two questions for you, Coach Hardeman. I know you dropped off for a second. We asked, one was, what's the toughest road opponent that you've had to face when you the team, the student section, the band, the fans? Where's the toughest place to go play? And then also, how much has recruiting changed in 2020, and what's your advice to young athletes?
No, I apologize. I think when I was got logged off there, I would have to agree with Coach Stump. I mean, I think any place that, you know, that Katie plays, it's funny because you can say playing him at home. When I was at A-Leaf Taylor, we had an opportunity. We played him at home and played him close, and then had him on the schedule the next week. And ESPN came out and asked to play us, you know, on ESPN, and we were excited about it. And you know, we were out, you know, before pregame, and they had more people on their side than we actually had on our side. And I think, you know, it was a good. My son was a senior at that time, and I remember, you know, talking to him, and it was a good experience, you know, for them to see what it's like. But just the program they have over there and the support that they have from, you know, faculty to band, playing them is tough. You know, it is very tough. They travel well, so I would say playing them home or away had to be probably one of the toughest. In regards to recruiting, it's really, I think, taken off with social media. You know, I went through it as a parent with my son, so it's a little unique from this side. I think I can understand, but, you know, you try to educate as much as possible. I think the more you try to avoid talking to your kids about it, the harder it's going to be, because they're going to hear about it. You know, either you're going to hear about it from you, or they're going to hear about it from their friends or social media. So you try to educate and give them a sense of perspective of what's important and what's not important. I think, you know, our kids live off of these devices. I think, you know, Twitter is reality to them. So, you know, you have to build that relationship with them and their parents to where you're the first line for any type of questions or understanding, because especially when you have, you know, high caliber type of athletes, you're going to have people pulling on them from all sorts of places. People ask them to go work out. I mean, you got people recruiting them from outside. You have academies from, you know, outside the state, you know, asking your kids to come play. So I think building that relationship with them early and educating them on what they're about to face before they face, I think, you know, will help out well. But, you know, you try to tell them, let them know that, you know, the way these coaches now are recruiting is off social media. And you know, we have a saying, you are what you tweet. So, you know, you have to be very careful about that. And not just what you tweet, but what you like, what you retweet as well. So I think just talking to them as early as 8th grade about it is a key, and trying to help them navigate through it all.
All right, guys. This is my favorite question, I think, and we'll go quick through this. If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing as a profession? Coach Kay.
What I want to be, or what would I be doing? I'd want to be a chef. You know, I watch these cooking shows all the time, especially now in this quarantine, and what these people are able to make is amazing to me. So I want to be a chef.
All right, Coach Stump.
I'd like to have a bait shop in Key West.
Ooh,
and go fishing every day. Go fishing every day. I mean, money's not an object, right?
What would you be doing?
Who'd you say, Coach?
Coach McDowell.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, I'd be in federal law enforcement, man. I'd be like a cop or a federal, FBI agent, man. I love criminal investigations and figure stuff out, and I like to get a little fight every now and then too. So that's probably what I'd be doing.
Coach Snelson, what would you be doing?
Man, I love hanging around guys like you and coaches, so I would probably be a sporting goods salesman or something.
All right. I would just say like an alligator wrestler or something. Awesome. All right, Coach Hardeman, what about you?
That's his hobby.
Who's that?
What would you be doing if you weren't coaching?
I like these guys. This is kind of like my dream job. I jumped right into the business world when I graduated, and so I was in business. I did advertising and sales, and so I'll probably get back into that. In some form. I got out of print whenever the cost of newspapers and all that was going down and jumped into digital. So I would be doing something in advertising online.
This will be the last question for you guys before we wrap up this panel. Who's been your biggest influence in coaching, in your coaching career? Who's been the biggest influence on you? We'll start with Coach K.
Mine's easy, David Amon. I think everybody that's followed anything about North Shore football knows that, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Coach Stump, for you?
Yeah, I think there's two people, really. I think my dad is one. He coached and raised all four of us boys by himself. And three of us are in coaching, and one's an engineer. So I guess his message got across to one of us. The other three are coaching. But Dad at Greg Davis, who recruited me and coached me at A&M, and he was the head coach at Tulane, and he's been coach at Texas. He's been everywhere, but I would say those two guys.
Hey, Coach Snelson, for you?
My mother, she was a coach. My parents split up when I was 6, and she was a volleyball and a basketball coach, and so I grew up in the gym and just always knew that I wanted to be a coach and treat people how she did and have people come back to us, being the weddings, baby showers, all that kind of stuff. Probably the coach that I coached for most would be Tom Ed Gooden.
All right, and for you, Coach McDowell?
I'd probably say the single most influential coach in my life as a coach has been Greg McKegg at Side Creek. He took a guy in 2007, taught me pretty much how to run things, and we do a lot of things very similar offensively and how we run our programs, and I always go to him for a lot of advice, sometimes good and bad, and he's been a real influential part of my life and coaching career. I'd have to say Greg McKegg at Side Creek.
And finally, for you, Coach Hardeman.
First would be J.D. Jordan. He was a guy that gave me my first opportunity to coach, kind of an older guy coming out of business and saw potential in me before, I even had the experience, and gave me the opportunity to come in and do varsity. Saw the foresight of started doing recruit coordinator, things like that. That's really helped me propel in my career. There's things I still do now that I can hear him do or hear him say that I, associate with what I do at Conroe. And I would probably say the second be a guy named Ron Counter. Coach Counter is a guy that's been knowing me. He's an A-Leaf kid like me. Coach Counter's known me since I was 8 years old, and is one of the guys that I reached out to whenever I decided I wanted to coach. And it's a guy even when, I reached out to when I, to get, a head job, and if I can call him right now, he always picks up, and somebody I can lean on for advice.
Perfect. Well, this has been a lot of fun. This has been the first time we have done something like this, Texas High School Football Coaches Panel, with some of the best coaches in the city of Houston, Coach Jon Kay of North Shore, Coach Craig Stump of Atascocita, Coach Snelson of Dickinson, Coach Shaun McDowell of Foster, and Coach Cedric Hardeman of Conroe High School. Coaches, we appreciate everything that you do for high school sports, high school football, everything you do for your athletes on a day-to-day basis, and we cannot wait to see you back on the field come Friday night here in a few months.